Said it once and I'll say it again. The ACER Aspire 5 is one of the best laptops you can buy for the money. I haven't brought that personality out in a while. Here we have the ACER Aspire 5. Now I've said it once and I'll say it again. The ACER Aspire 5 is one of the best laptops you can get for the money. Now of course it's not going to compete with the likes of the Dell XPS, the Inspiron 16s, or MacBooks, etc. and so forth. But if you are looking for a computer for under $400, yes, under $400, and in fact sometimes even under $300, then look no further than the ACER Aspire 5. Let's get some specs out of the way really quick. This one is configured with the 11th generation i3 processor. It comes with 8 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, which is user upgradable, or kind of user upgradable. You gotta pop the bottom of the laptop off and then you can get to the RAM slots. Also comes with a 512 gigabyte NVMe solid state drive, which is also user upgradable. It has room for a 2.5-inch drive if you want to add that in there later on as well. And all of that is bundled together for $450. It is absolutely a steal of a deal. You can also get these in an AMD variant if you want like a Ryzen processor and Radeon graphics and stuff like that. Suffice to say that most of them are relatively similar, although this one benchmarks with a 1364 in single core and a 2836 in multi-core. And then in terms of OpenCL graphics benchmarks, it comes up with a 9855. All to say that from a price to performance ratio, this thing is pretty outstanding. And all of that performance will allow you to do things like productivity work, such as a bunch of Excel spreadsheets, tons of Firefox and Chrome tabs, Outlook, web browsing, you get the idea. You can also do a little bit of 1080p compressed video editing on here, a little bit of light gaming, such as Minecraft or something of that ilk, and then probably even some audio processing if you wanted to do like a podcast and edit that on here as well, and I'll get into that a little bit more later. But as a result, the specs are awarded a 5 out of 5. No matter what variant you get, Acer seems to be packing just a lot of hardware into a very, very small frame, and we are very impressed with that. Now moving along to the LCD. It is a 1080p full high definition, non-touch in-plane switching display. It gets about 320 nits of brightness, and it is also quite colorful. It is matte, so that if you are sitting under direct sunlight, you won't have a whole lot of issues, or for that matter, even in front of a window, you won't have a whole lot of problems with glare. There is not a whole lot of backlight bleed on it either. The blacks are true and the whites are bright. So yeah, it is actually a great panel. We rate it a 4 out of 5. Again, for what you are getting price-wise, you really can't beat the display. We have seen worse displays on things like the Lenovo IdeaPad 3 series or even some of the Dell Inspiron 3000 series. Acer really does give you a lot of bang for your buck in this panel, so short of needing a touchscreen, that's about all you're missing on this thing. But it's not all marshmallows and fruity gumdrops. This computer does have a couple of Achilles heels, namely the trackpad on it is a little bit small-ish for my taste. I wish it was just a little bit bigger, but it ghosts a little bit too, so as you're trying to move the mouse cursor around the screen, it's not quite as precise as it should be. It is not the worst trackpad we've ever used, but it could use a little bit of TLC. Gets about a 3 out of 5. Keyboard, on the other hand, it's kind of sitting at like 2.5 out of 5, realistically speaking, but because I really like this computer, I'm gonna round up and give it a 3 out of 5. Black keycaps, which I like. Full-size numpad on the right side for those doing data entry. It is tactile in response, if not a little bit plasticky feeling. So is this the typist's keyboard? I mean, the answer is absolutely not. If you are somebody that does a lot of typing, you probably won't love this keyboard, but it is by no means a deal breaker. And for that matter, it doesn't have a backlight on it either, so if you're somebody that works in dark areas and needs that keyboard backlight, that is something you are going to want to keep in mind. But again, nothing about this keyboard says don't buy me. Just know that it's not as good as, like, let's say some of the Dell keyboards. But then of course the computer makes up for it for its stellar I/O. On this side you have the TRRS headphone microphone jack. You've got a USB-A port where they intend for you to plug in like a wireless mouse dongle. And then of course you have Kensington lock because everybody uses Kensington lock. And then on this side, you've got a USB-C super speed port, love that. You've got 2 USB Type-A super speed ports. You've got a full-size HDMI, so if you're somebody that travels a lot and plugs into projectors, that's gonna be very convenient. You've got a Gigabit Ethernet, talking Ethernet jack on the side of it, and then of course, where you plug it in. Because it doesn't run on solar energy. But can you charge it on the USB-C port? And the answer is unfortunately no, you cannot. That USB-C port is only there for data entry. That doesn't make the I/O in this thing any less impressive, and as a result, it gets a 5 out of 5. Again, I really want to hammer down that what you are getting for the price is just exceptional value. So let's go ahead and talk features on this bad boy. We've got Wi-Fi 6, we've got Bluetooth, we've got a webcam at the top, and it is in fact one of the better looking webcams that we have used in a while. In fact, here is some of that footage now. This is the camera on the ACER Aspire 5. It has a little bit of issues with exposing properly, but quality-wise, it's better than like the Lenovo and frankly, even the Dell. It has an aluminum cover on the top, so that doesn't really do a whole lot. I guess it does make it a little bit more robust of a build, but ultimately it is just a nice, thin, lean profile. There are very few things on here that it doesn't offer. About some of the exceptions would be maybe like a fingerprint scanner. Of course, it doesn't have Windows compatible it doesn't have a Windows Hello compatible camera either. Jesus, Christopher. And then as mentioned before, it doesn't have a backlight on the keyboard, and it also doesn't have a touchscreen. But as far as what you're buying this computer for, which is just sort of like a basic no frills machine, it has just about everything on there that you need. So we are gonna go ahead and give the features on this thing a 4 out of 5. It's exceptional. I mean, it really is a lot of good stuff in here. Probably airs closer to like a 5 out of 5 again, just in terms of price, but we're just gonna go ahead and give it a 4 out of 5. Mobility on this thing is actually not too bad. We awarded a 4 out of 5 because it is quite a thin machine overall, and it's also quite lightweight as well. In fact, it weighs less than both of the Lenovo and the Dells in the same price bracket. We like the fact that it has an aluminum top cover on there because again, that might help with some of the basically if you're like throwing this thing into a backpack or into a work bag and you're going through airports or college classrooms, this thing could probably take a little bit of a beating. And the battery life on here is not exceptional. I mean, realistically speaking, you're probably only going to get about 5 to 6 hours of practical usage on this thing. You might be able to get a little bit more, a little bit less depending on what you're doing, but again, 5 to 6 hours practically. You will get a little bit of better battery life in the AMD variant, but if you're somebody that's just kind of floating between classrooms or maybe short-term airport trips, something like that, then the battery life on here is probably going to be okay. Nevertheless, mobility-wise, even though it is not like the longest-lasting computer in the world, it's still a 4 out of 5 on it. But then lastly, the speakers. Speakers are awarded a 3 out of 5. They don't advertise anything fancy like Harmon Kardon or Beats by Dre or Bose or anything obnoxious like that. But instead you get speakers that are quite capably loud. You could listen to a podcast on it very comfortably. You could maybe even watch a movie, although not with the highest fidelity. And even though you're not gonna have the best fidelity in terms of like audiophile type quality, it does produce some pretty decent highs and mids with very little distortion. About the only thing it struggles on are some lows where there's just no character whatsoever. But again, if you need all of that bass, then you just plug in a set of headphones on it. Tallied up, that gives this laptop a total score of about anywhere between like 3.75 to 4, depending on how kind of like gracious you want to be. We do really like the ACER Aspire 5 series. As far as like your like economic below $500 laptop platform, this one is really hard to beat. They do make some of the ACER Aspire 5s with backlights on it. This test model just happens to not have one. So if that is a feature that you absolutely need, you certainly can get that with it. But overall, bang for your buck, Acer did a tremendous job. And we're at our money, if we're shopping between this and like, let's say maybe like a Lenovo IdeaPad 3 or maybe even a Dell Inspiron 3000 series, we are probably going to go with the ACER Aspire. So there it is in a nutshell. We do recommend this computer, and we do think that if you buy one, you'll really enjoy it. If you want one of these machines, please use our affiliate links. It helps this channel out a lot, and we'd be very grateful if you do. And ultimately, we hope that this video was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us in the comments section. Please like and subscribe, and we will be back with another video really soon.